Someone in your tribe suddenly starts screaming at nothing. They see things nobody else can see. They stop eating, they stop sleeping, they stop speaking. What did your ancestors actually do about this? The answer stretches back 50,000 years of human history, and it is nothing like what you probably think. This skull has a hole deliberately drilled into it. But look closely at the edges of that hole. The bone grew back smoothly over years. This person survived their brain surgery for years afterward. Trepanned skulls appear on every inhabited continent archaeologists have studied. The practice spans 10,000 years of continuous human history. This was not random violence. This was deliberate medical procedure. The logic was release pressure causing the madness inside. Modern surgeons still drill skulls to relieve intracranial pressure today, 10,000 years apart. Same fundamental surgical logic applied. Now go further back. Before surgery, before civilization itself. Imagine one tribe member who simply cannot function anymore. They contribute nothing. They drain resources. They are a burden. Every evolutionary model predicts this person gets left behind. But the archaeological record shows something completely different happened. They were fed, buried with care, kept in the group. Bioarchaeologist Lorna Tilley documented this across multiple Paleolithic burial sites. Individuals with severe conditions were sustained by community effort. Compassion for the suffering may predate civilization itself entirely, but compassion had a framework, and that framework involved spirits. When someone went mad, the explanation was simple: possession. Mesopotamian texts from 3000 BCE catalog demons causing specific madness symptoms: seizures, personality shifts, voices, paranoia, all cataloged by demon type. Map those symptoms onto modern diagnoses. The overlap is startling. Epilepsy described as a demon causing falling and violent shaking. Schizophrenia mapped precisely onto ancient voice demon possession descriptions. Priests were asking, which demon? Meaning, which specific condition is this? They were accidentally performing differential diagnosis without knowing it. Now here is where history takes a genuinely strange turn. Identical symptoms, two completely opposite social outcomes. In Egypt, the person hearing voices might become the oracle. Temples at Karnak housed individuals chosen specifically for their visions. Egyptian hieroglyphic records link certain madness markers to divine selection. The fragmented speech of psychosis became the language of prophecy. Geography determined whether your madness destroyed you or elevated you. Same neurology, same symptoms, opposite meaning assigned by culture. Then came the man who changed everything, Hippocrates of Kos. He wrote the most dangerous sentence in ancient medical history. His text, On the Sacred Disease. Target: epilepsy. Target audience: angry. He wrote, "Men call it divine only because they do not understand." The religious establishment erupted. This was theological blasphemy. He was nearly exiled from Greece for this single medical argument. The violent resistance to biological explanations of madness is ancient. Every era restages the same war, biology versus meaning. He observed that damage to the brain changed personality and perception. He documented head injuries producing madness symptoms with clinical precision. 2,400 years later, we confirmed he was pointing correctly. But not every ancient treatment was surgical or theological. Across cultures, drumming was the universal treatment for severe dissociation. Siberia, West Africa, North America. Same rhythmic intervention, different continent. The drums were not symbolic. Something biological was actually happening. In 2001, neuroscientist Barry Quinn published a landmark drumming study. Synchronized drumming measurably reduced cortisol levels in distressed participants. Dissociative states showed measurable regulation during consistent rhythmic sound. The shaman was accidentally delivering neurologically valid therapeutic intervention. What looked like magic was accidentally treating the nervous system directly. The auditory cortex connects directly to limbic emotional regulation systems. Rhythm entrains the nervous system. Ancient healers discovered this empirically. Now consider what happened after treatment in functioning ancient communities. Many individuals showing difference markers held recognized community positions. Rome had a formal category, the sacred fool, protected by divine status. That category vanished in medieval Europe. Chains replaced deference entirely. The more institutional religion grew, the more madness became moral failure. Madness reframed as sin changed the treatment from care to punishment. Paleolithic compassion took 10,000 years to erode into cruelty. But here is what the skulls tell us that texts cannot. Roughly half of all Trepanned patients showed significant post-surgical bone healing. Medieval psychiatric treatments killed patients at dramatically higher rates than trepanation did. A Stone Age surgeon sometimes produced better outcomes than Enlightenment doctors. Progress in mental health treatment has never moved in one direction. Anthropologist Margaret Field studied mental illness treatment in 1960s rural Ghana. She found communities integrating rather than isolating severely disturbed individuals. Recovery outcomes matched or exceeded contemporary Western institutionalized treatment results. The World Health Organization confirmed this pattern decades later formally. Schizophrenia recovery rates were significantly higher in developing non-institutional societies. Social inclusion consistently produced better outcomes than biological treatment alone did. Which brings us back to that first treatment, 50,000 years ago. Someone sat with the suffering person, did not abandon them. That gesture, presence over abandonment, predates every medical system ever built. Every culture built elaborate frameworks around that single original instinct. Demons, surgery, oracles, rhythm, all attempting to answer the same question. What is happening inside this person, and how do we help? We have better answers now, but we abandoned some correct old ones. Modern neuroscience keeps rediscovering what ancient healers found through pure observation. They lacked the vocabulary, but not the capacity for systematic observation. Hippocrates identified the correct organ 24 centuries before we could prove it. Ancient surgeons achieved genuine medical outcomes with stone tools and observation alone. And Paleolithic communities chose compassion before language existed to name compassion. The same mind across different cultures produced saint or criminal based purely on context. What your society believes about madness determines what madness does to you. The neurology was identical. The cultural interpretation changed every single outcome. Every generation has people who need madness to remain mysterious and spiritual. The biological explanation keeps getting suppressed, rediscovered, suppressed again across centuries. The resistance to understanding the brain as the organ of madness never stopped. Rhythmic percussion reducing cortisol is now a legitimate clinical research finding. Ancient treatments keep earning validation from the science that once dismissed them. The most honest position in psychiatry might be profound humility about the past. They were working with the same broken human nervous system we face today. That healed skull is not evidence of cruelty. It is evidence of effort. Someone tried, carefully, systematically, with everything available to them at that moment. The compassion thread runs unbroken from Paleolithic campfire to modern psychiatric ward. The oldest treatment and the most effective treatment may be exactly the same. Presence, witness, refusal to abandon the person who has gone somewhere unreachable. 50,000 years ago, someone made space at the fire for the mad. They survived because someone stayed. That is the oldest medical record we have. That healed bone edge represents something modern medicine rarely discusses openly. Survival after stone tool brain surgery was not a lucky accident. The consistency across continents suggests transmitted knowledge, refined technique, accumulated wisdom. Independent cultures on separate continents arrived at the same surgical solution independently. When isolated cultures converge on identical solutions, the solution is probably working. They tracked outcomes. They adjusted technique. This is the definition of empirical medicine. Return to Egypt for a moment. The oracle's fractured speech was not dismissed. Scribes recorded every word. The confusion itself was considered meaningful signal. A modern therapist does the same thing. The orientation changed. The behavior did not. Egypt accidentally invented the clinical interview by treating psychosis as prophetic text. Hippocrates did not appear from nowhere. He inherited centuries of careful Greek observation. Greek physicians had already linked skull damage to personality change before he wrote. What made him dangerous was not his observation. It was his insistence on saying it loudly. The text was suppressed. The idea survived anyway. Good ideas survive suppression repeatedly. Biological understanding of madness passed underground through centuries of official suppression. Back to the drum, back to the fire, back to the oldest pharmacology humans had. Rhythm does not just calm, it synchronizes. Heartbeat, breath, neural oscillation, together. Modern EEG studies show drumming induces theta wave states linked to emotional processing. The shaman was inducing a neurological state that enabled trauma integration. Accidentally, reliably. EMDR, modern trauma therapy, uses bilateral rhythmic stimulation. Shamans used bilateral drumming. The mechanism was unknown. The intervention was correct. The gap was only vocabulary. Every generation believed it had finally escaped the errors of everyone who came before. Each generation was partly right. Each generation was also causing damage it could not see. The Paleolithic healer sitting with the suffering person caused the least documented harm of all. Across every continent, in every era, the evidence of care keeps appearing in the ground. Madness has always been here, and so, almost always, has someone willing to stay.